and win the seller, right? Yes.
Yes, you did.
Oh, you did. Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, that's okay. We're gonna do a little recap here. So, today we are, well, first, I like these quotes. So virtually every top producing agent we have ever worked with has a deep and almost inherent sense of service. They have a servant's heart and place their buyers and sellers real estate experience above all else. They are always thinking service. And this is absolutely true for me. Um, if you go into sales and real estate sales with that in mind, it's going to get you a long way. Like I'm at the point of my business. Well, I was talking. So my husband and I both do residential and commercial. So Ben, my husband Ben, he kind of leads our commercial section, but we both do it together, our commercial arm. Anyway, we're talking to a commercial agent the other day, and he was talking about his brokerage where he was at and like how awesome it is and how we need to move over there. And they give us free leads. And I was like, I don't care about those leads anymore. I mean, lead gen is important, right? But you're learning how to create your own lead gen within your own sphere. And that's what's going to feed you forever. Because now in our business, most of our business comes from either referrals or our sphere. Like I don't do a lot of, if I meet somebody new, it's usually from a referral, right? And so if you can create this business where you have this servant service mentality, then that business will continue to feed you. Like we built, have you ever read the book Good to Great? You should read the book Good to Great because they talk about this flywheel system. So if you think about how a flywheel, you have to it takes a lot of effort, right, to get that flywheel moving. But once you get the flywheel flying, you just have to kind of give it a little nudge every once in a while, it'll keep flying, right? That is how real estate works. It takes a lot of effort in your first couple of years to build that foundation, to build that repeat business, but eventually it'll come around, right? And it'll be flying and you'll have people coming out. Now, do you have to continue to feed that business? Yes. Like you can't just get the flywheel going and then walk away. You have to continue to feed it, right? And I do that through events, texting them, keeping on, checking in, seeing how they're doing in life, just as a friend, not necessarily to sell them, right? But that's how I continue to feed it. So let's get into this. Okay, so client communication, becoming a great agent or part of becoming a good agent, a great agent is your communication styles, or just leveling up your communication. We have Command. Command is a great tool. We talk about CRM, we talk about auto plans, we talk about all that stuff. Those are the ways that you can automate your communication to your clients is by getting into your Command and learning how it works. So if you don't know how Command works and how to create auto plans and stuff, have you guys heard about where you can go on and do, how many days is it? It's like 5 minutes a day or something with Command for like a month. Has Cameron talked about that yet? Okay. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll send it out later. But there is a thing where you can go and learn all about Command and how it works and how to set it up so that it can work to your benefit. Okay, so we provide great communication. Client communication provides a strong foundation for sustaining relationships, sets and manages expectations, creates peace of mind in your clients, enhances your credibility. So before I got into real estate, I used to be a teacher. And so for me, part of the process when I'm working with my clients, whether it is a buyer or a seller, is I provide a lot of information to help educate them and guide them through the process. But when I first started doing that, I thought, okay, in order to be credible, I had to have this buyer's guide, I had to have this, and I had to have this, and I just dumped the information on them and like walk away and think that was enough. But our clients need, so I give them the big bit at first, and then through the process, I give them little chunks along the way. Remember we talked about this? Okay, now we're at this point. Now we're at this point. Now we're at this point. And so I give them, whether it's like a little voice memo, it's an email that's explaining the process. And actually, I usually do all of that because like over communication is better than little communication, right? One of my transaction coordinators once asked me, she's like, do I really need to send this? It seems redundant. And I'm like, yes, and it is redundant, but we do this every day. It feels redundant to us, but our clients, they're doing this how often? It could be once every 10 years. It could be once in their lifetime. They don't have, even if they've bought and sold a house, how long ago was it? They're not doing it every day. They don't remember. And it doesn't matter how many times we tell them, like, okay, this is, I have to explain when we get to the different parts of the contract. Okay, we're coming up to due diligence. This is what due diligence means. This is what our responsibilities are. This is how I'm going to help you through this. And then I also talk to them on the phone, or I send them a text. Remember, we're at due diligence, right? Okay, here's the list of home inspectors. These are the ones that I recommend you. Another one, but this is why we want a home inspection. And then I text them, hey, don't forget, we have a home inspection. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, over communication is so important. It creates that peace of mind for client and creates helps with our credibility. As a former English teacher, and you might remember this when you learned about argument essays. And you learn about, no, of course, nobody pays attention. So we learn about like rhetoric, right? And there's 3 main things that we talk about when we're teaching how to write an essay: logos, ethos, and pathos. Logos is like logic, right? So think about your buyers and your sellers. Most of your buyers and sellers, like one of them is more the analytical one of them leads by their heart, right? So pathos is like the heartstring, pull the heartstrings, and ethos is your credibility. So whenever I'm thinking, how am I gonna, any type of communication that I do, I'm looking at it from, okay, I gotta make sure logistically I'm providing the statistics, I'm providing the evidence, I'm providing all of the things to help, build up the argument in a logical way, right? Or the sale in a logical way. And then I'm also thinking, okay, how can I appeal to the emotional aspect of it? How can I lean into the empathetic aspect of selling, right? Connecting with them, the relationship. And then the credibility, the ethos aspect is it, okay, well, the credibility comes from where am I getting my stats? Where am I getting my evidence, like my market statistics, or I'm pulling up the comps or whatever. That is part of your credibility, right? Getting the testimonials from clients, that's help building. So thinking about as you build your business, how can I, when I'm putting together my buyer presentation or my my listing presentation, how can I appeal to all those aspects, right? It's just the same as like, okay, there's different like like the colors. I'm a red, I'm a blue, I'm a yellow. Have you heard of that? Or the other personality type, or the animals. Yeah, I'm like a bulldog, or I'm a monkey, or I'm a whatever, right? There's so many different personality systems out there. I think there's one about dogs where it's like Chihuahua, bulldog, something. And so like you resonate with that type of animal. Okay, well, how we put the presentation together should, on some level, reach all those personality types, right? And so we're kind of like a chameleon over here where we're like, okay, this is a bulldog. I got to mirror and I got to adjust, right? Over here is like the sweet passive person. Okay, now I got to adjust. That comes with, I don't know. I don't know how we develop that, but okay, so 3 levels of service. What's our purpose? What's our value proposition? And then what are our fiduciary responsibilities to that client? Making sure that we're following through on all those. So letting them know, okay, this is what my purpose is as an agent. What is your purpose as a buyer's agent? Who are you there for? I'm there to advocate. In this sense, I'm just talking about my whole mold situation, right, with that client. I feel for the seller. I really do. It sucks that he's going to have to, I mean, he's paid like, I don't know. He's probably already paid $10,000 towards this, but because he didn't do it, hire the right people and do it properly from the beginning, now it's going to cost him upwards of $30,000 just to do the mold remediation. And then they'll have to come and finish off the drywall, replace the insulation, replace the drywall, replace the baseboards and molding, and then paint on top. So he's going to probably be another 10 grand just in putting it back, right? So he's 40K into this, and I feel for him. I do, and it sucks that he has to do this, but my fiduciary responsibility is to the buyer and making sure that they're going to be able to move in and have a clean house that they never have to worry about. And someday when they go to resell it, that they can resell it and they're not going to have to rip out and do $30,000 worth of repairs, right? So making clear to them who you're there for. And I like to call it, I'm like advocating for them, right? Like my job is to be their advocate. So functionary versus a fiduciary, what does that even mean? We're gonna just loosely go through this dual agency thing. But I don't know how to go back. So functionary versus fiduciary, what does that mean before we jump to dual agency? What do we do a functionary agent? What would they do? Yeah, fill out the contract, put the dates in. Fiduciary, what is that? How is that different? Yeah, we have specific fiduciary duties, right? What are they? Loyalty, confidentiality, what? Obedience, yeah. Yeah. I forget them all. But okay, so we know what those are. Yeah. Right. Yes. Loyalty, obedience, confidentiality. Oh my gosh. Let me see in my notes if it has them here. Okay, but a functionary, they have specific tasks that they're just like task oriented, right? Whereas with the fiduciary, we're gonna go to bat for them. Like I said, the advocate, we're an advocate. We're gonna do whatever we have to do to take care of our client and make sure their needs and interests are being met. Doesn't mean that we're gonna we want it to be a win-win for everybody. But at the same time, our loyalty is to our client. So in our brokerage, dual agency is legal in the state of Utah. It is. But in our brokerage, we feel strongly that it is hard to honor your fiduciary responsibilities to your client if you are serving two masters. It's impossible. Even with the limited, to me, it's impossible. Even with the limited agency form that you fill out, and we lose a couple of those, fiduciary things that kind of go into neutral status, right? It still is really hard to do that. So in our brokerage, we say, okay, yeah, I'm the listing agent. You are unrepresented. You can either be unrepresented and you can represent yourself. We can do certain tasks to help them through that process where we're not giving them any kind of agency. Or we can say, better yet, why don't I refer you to somebody in my office or another agent who can help you navigate this process and who can give you your full fiduciary duties. So in our brokerage, our broker dean can be the limited broker, but he wants to see two separate agents on both sides of the deal. So that's because, it's really hard to give your full fiduciary commitment to your client when you have dual agency. Yeah, thank you. You'll have to catch the recording, I guess. See ya. Okay, so if we were in that situation, you really need to set expectations. But again, we're not going to put ourselves in that situation because we just don't even allow it in our brokerage. So don't put yourself in that situation. So let's review the transaction process. First, this is for a buyer or a seller, I think. Okay, so, or for a buyer. You're going to partner with an agent. Your buyer's going to partner with an agent. They're going to get pre-approved on the loan. We're going to help them set clear search criteria. We're going to help them find their new home. We're going to help them make their offer. We're going to negotiate the terms. Once they're under contract, we have to coordinate vendors. So in this case, like for this deal that I just did, we had an inspector come in. We had a bunch of tests done. And actually, the seller, there was another buyer under contract. They provided us with their mold test. And so we went off that, and crazily enough, that mold test came back pretty clean. And I think it was just because everything was covered and it wasn't like out in the air.
Would they get in trouble then? Or?
No, well, no, because we found it and he's willing to like work through it. And so it's fine. But that being said, okay, so we've got to have certain vendors in our back pockets. As the buyer's agent, we need to know a few different inspectors that you'd want to work with. In addition to that, okay, well, what would happen in an inspection? So you have the regular inspection, and then they have additional tests that they can add on. Okay, there's like a meth test, there's a mold test, a radon test, and then like sewer scoping. So the inspector can do all those tests, and if something comes back, it's not great on any of those, then we need to say, okay, now we have to bring in the big dogs. You know, we have to hire a specialist in whatever those categories are. So like knowing different mold remediators would be good to have on your list of vendors. Knowing where to get a radon system if one needs to be put in. Also with radon, the inspection companies can do it. And I think like every test is like at least $100 add-on. Mold is a little bit more expensive because mold tests, you can't just put one test. Like you can't just do one test. You have to have multiple tests in a house. One outside because they want to take like a baseline. There's mold in the air. In this room, there is. It's just normal. It's a natural thing. So they take a baseline outside, and then they do them depending on how big the house is and how many floors are finished. They're going to do maybe 1 or 2 in the basement, maybe 1 or 2 in they usually do one in the kitchen area because that would be where like water would be. They usually do them like maybe in a bathroom or upstairs. They're going to do them in the certain areas where there might be mold, right? So that can add up. Each one of those tests costs like $100. So your home inspection could be anywhere from like $500 up to whatever add-on your client wants to do. Could be like, I don't know, I think some people do like $1,200 or something for a full home inspection. Okay, and then mold. Okay, what if there is mold? Then what do? We got to call in a mold remediator to find out. Disaster cleanup people, who are those? Your home warranty people, who are those people? So it's important that you start collecting, you know, a list. We actually do have a list of vendors in our brokerage that is approved, where you can find that, I believe, in that Dropbox document link. There's, I think, a list of vendors there. Okay, we're going to negotiate inspections. There's so many points in a contract that you can negotiate. Here at the offer, once we have our inspections, it's another time to negotiate. If an appraisal comes back low, that's another point of negotiation. And then right before closing, it's our job to help advocate and make sure we do that final walkthrough. So if there were any inspections and repairs that we want to make sure that those are done. Also to walk through just one last time before you close to make sure there hasn't been any leaks or something. One time we went into a house, I was representing the seller. The buyers walked through the morning and then they were going to go sign. They walked in, and upstairs in the hallway, the drywall was, So they were like, oh, we're not signing until this is fixed, you know? So we had to hurry up and go find, you know, the leak and get all that drywall repaired and everything. So it was another week before we actually ended up closing. And then we closed, and then carrying a transactional or a functional agent at the end of closing, they walk away. A fiduciary agent, somebody who takes their job seriously, wants to be that wants to continue to give service to their client ongoing after closing, they have some kind of follow-up plan where they're continuing to reach out. For me, like when somebody closes 30 days after, I want to give them a call or text. Hey, how's everything going? Is there anything that I can help you with? Just check in. 30 days, 6 months. Again, hey, it's been 6 months since you bought your house. How are things going? Have you had any issues? You need help with anything? Or maybe they're like, they bought it in the fall or in the winter, and now spring, summer is coming up and it's 6 months down the road. And they're like, oh yeah, we don't know anything about sprinklers. Oh, I got a guy for that. Hey, I'll send him over. Here's his number. So just being that point of contact. And then 1 year. Okay, it's your house anniversary. Congratulations. I usually send something, to congratulate them on that anniversary. And then I still don't stop there. Every year afterwards, I'm continuing to follow up. One good thing that some people do is every year on their house anniversary, they send over like a market report on their house so they know where they're at. Every seller, anybody who owns a house, it doesn't matter if they're looking to sell or not, needs to know the value of their house or an estimated value, right? Because you just never know what's going to happen in their life. Maybe they're getting a job transfer, or you just never know. But for them to just have that, oh, hey, I bought this house 2 years ago and now it's worth $20,000 or $30,000 more. Awesome. That's amazing. Okay. So we want to set proper time expectations when we're working with buyers and sellers too. So with a buyer, for example, a contract time is usually going to be like 30 to 45 days once we go under contract. Prior to contract, depending on that, could just however long it takes to find a house, is going to be, it could be, gosh, I mean, typically we usually find something within a month, maybe 2, but some buyers are super picky and it could be longer, or we could be in a different type of market, like in 2021 and 2020 when it was bonkers and we had multiple offers galore. I mean, I probably put in for a client, I don't even know, at least 10 offers before finally we got one, just because we were going up against like 30 people. And it's like we were neck to neck every time, and then you lose out by $500 or something. But setting those proper expectations for a seller, right now, the average days on market is about 45. So I say, okay, it could be 45 days to get your house, find the right buyer. That's if we're priced strategically, the conditions are good, and all of the things are perfect, right? Not perfect, but close to, right? If they price it higher, well, it's going to take longer than 45 days to sell, right? So from that point, okay, once we finally, so 45 days being active, then it's going to be 30 to 45 days to close. So that timeline is already like 3 months, right? And then when I go sit down with somebody and I say, okay, well, to prep the house to sell, you're probably going to need what? 2 to 3 weeks. So sometimes there's even leading up to getting it actually live, could be a month, 2 to 4 weeks to get it ready to go. And that depends on like what projects need to be done. So setting those expectations with your client is important. Setting the document expectations. What documents are we going to be going over? So like, letting them know up front, okay, these are all the buyer broker agreements. Okay, here's the contract. This is what, and explaining to them that contract process. Like all of this should be part of your buyer presentation. Setting your communication expectations. So this is important to me. So I always tell my clients that I try to communicate in the quickest way. Like I'm quick to respond. But I do let them know, hey, sometimes I'm with a client and I may not be able to answer your text or call you back until after I'm done. So if I don't call you within like a couple of hours, 2 to 4 hours, like then maybe, reach out again. But usually I'm going to get back to them within 2 to 4 hours after, if I can't get to them right then. But even sometimes, like this morning when I was in that mold meeting, I had a client call me, and I told her I was meeting, I'll be back later. And then I quickly sent her a text and I said, hey, I am actually tied up until 11:30. So I'll call you when I'm done with my meetings. And then she was, oh, okay, no problem. I'll take your time, is what she said. So it's just being responsive and setting that expectation. Because if you don't respond, then they're like, what's going on? How come she hasn't called me? What's wrong? She hates me. No, you know, you know. Contingencies, talking to them about certain contingencies that might be in the contract, or say, in this case, I'm going to be out of office or I'm going on vacation. What's the plan? If you're going on vacation, who's going to be helping you, and how are you going to be communicating at that point with your clients? Setting up-to-date market expectations. So again, part of that being that fiduciary is helping them to understand the market. And I think part of our job as realtors is to become experts of the market as best we can. Becca Summers is such a good example of knowing the market. So you learning how to read the market is going to help you in your business. Letting them know what kind of tech we have and setting that expectation. Hey, okay, so for me on my listings, I have a transaction coordinator. So I say, okay, hey, so you're not only going to receive communication from me, but you're also going to receive communication from my transaction coordinator. And if I said, so you'll see emails, you'll see texts from her or calls from her. When we're connecting with, letting them know, like, where can they search for homes? How are they going to get their listing alerts? How is that all going to come to them? So how are you utilizing your KW tech and letting them know these are the channels that they're going to be receiving information from you? So that also helps when I'm setting up listing alerts. So I'll usually tell them, hey, you're going to receive an email from me from utahrealestate.com on behalf of Courtney Nielsen. And so that they know, hey, there's going to be an email that's going to say Utah Real Estate and then it cuts off because it's truncated, right? So look for those emails, and you're not just going to get one from me. You're going to get like 2 or 3 from me, because the first one is like where we connect them, and then the second one is like where they'll actually receive the listings. Okay, so how do we get referrals? We provide lots of value. We're continuing helping them. We ask them, well, you do have to ask them for referrals at some point. Provide the value, ask for the referral, and they'll give you the reward. I usually do that in very subtle ways. Like, I'm not a crazy in-your-face type person, but in subtle ways, like at the bottom of my email, hey, there are some people who do, though. At the end of a transaction, they'll say, I also reward. So I'll say to people, yeah, if you send me a referral, I'll send you a gift card, whatever. And it's reward for, there's a couple of ladies who shout me out on a certain Facebook group all the time. Neither one of them have done business with me ever. We met through my son's Little League football in 4th grade. He's now 21. Okay, never done a deal with them. They shout me out all the time. So what do? I send them Swig gift cards so many times in the mail, Swig or Starbucks or sometimes Crumble Cookie or whatever. But I'll send a little thank you card. Thank you so much for shouting me out on Facebook. La la la. Here's a gift card. Go get yourself a free drink or whatever. And they keep sending me referrals, and I'm like, thank you. So, that is okay. So I may not get Zillow leads or realtor leads or realtor.com or go through any of those things, but I get Facebook referrals from these people all the time, like random people messaging me or texting me, hey, somebody shouted you out on Facebook in this group. We come do a listing for me. Okay, not all the time, but every once in a while I do. So, and it comes from that. So even if a past client sends me a referral, whether that person buys from me or not, I'm sending them a thank you with a little gift card. Now, if they end up closing, I might even send them another one. Hey, thank you so much for the referral. Here's a little drink, go get a drink. If they close, I might send them like a dinner. Go to dinner, thank you so much. These guys closed, So they might get two. Reviews are really important. Having 5-star reviews is really important, but you want to do those not in a place like Google is a good one that you want to do. So instead of putting many years ago, the big thing was to get as many reviews on a certain website. Starts with a and that was before they had their license. And so they had, and in Utah is a non-disclosure state. And so what we would do is we'd go onto that site and we would put in our cells. And then, so we were giving them free data. And then we would ask for the referrals and have our clients go and refer there. I stopped doing that because it's their platform, their site, right? So Google's a good one because it is a third party and it's not like they don't have a real estate company, right? Plus everybody goes to Google for that. So Google's one that is good, or right on your website, or anytime this is something that I do, anytime I see on any of those Facebook groups that a past client of mine or anybody who's done business with me shouts me out, I take a little screenshot and then I post that in my stories on Instagram, or I'll save it for something later, right? So anytime somebody gives you a shout out anywhere, just like save that and use it to your advantage. It doesn't have to be on a Google. It could just be anywhere where somebody's writing a comment on, like one time I had posted something on my Instagram and one of my clients made a comment and said something really nice. So I took a screenshot of that and saved it for later. Anytime anybody gives you some kind of testimonial or review, keep it, because you need social, what is the word? What? Yeah. And there's a term that you use in marketing, but you need to show that you're in different places. If your purchasing or selling exceeded your expectations, would you be so kind as to give me a brief review? I'd also like your permission to use this in my advertising and marketing. So you could add that as part of your, like when they go under contract. This could be like an email right before closing, when you send out, your final. For me, at the end, right before closing, I send them a package with all of their documents and say, here's, keep this for your records. And then that would be a good time to add this. Seller reviews, buyer reviews, keep those. We talked about that. All right. So what do buyers want most from their agents? This little graph gives you kind of a breakdown. They want help finding the right home to purchase. That's big. They want you to negotiate for them. They want you to help with pricing. And so not only so they want terms and pricing. And then this other stuff, like what would be some other things that they want? They want to know the market conditions, probably. They want to know that the price that they're buying it at is a good price, right? So usually I pull comps when we're getting down to that, like when they really like the house and I say, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at comps and we'll see if what they're listing at is a good price or if there's wiggle room to potentially offer less. And, what kinds of contingencies that we have to negotiate, or maybe there's things that they like in the house that they want you to negotiate in. So when I purchased my house, it was the model home for a builder, and they had a bunch of furniture in the house. And some builders hire outside companies to stage their homes, but then some builders buy all the furniture for that house, and then at the end they either put it into another house and recycle it, or they sell it. So the offer, I was like, I wanted something that I wanted all the furniture. And then they're like, no, we're not going to give you all the furniture. I was like, fine. Okay. They had the black bookcases that are like shaped like this. And they're like $4,000 on Crate and Barrel. And I was like, "Fuck those." So I was like, I gotta have those. Okay. They gave it to me. They didn't charge me extra. Then through the process, I reached out and I said, hey, are there any things in the house that the builder would willing to sell me? And they're like, yeah, what do you want? And I was like, okay, I'm interested in the rug, the dining room set, I wanted the living room rug. I wanted the bedroom furniture in the master. I wanted all the rugs in the house. And I wanted the entry table and lamps. I mean, I had a lot. And so then they gave me prices. I got all of that for $2,500, which, I mean, the dining room table alone was probably 2,500 because it's really nice and it has like nice upholstered chairs and everything, plus the bar stools and the rugs. Like one of the rugs was like a 10 by 12, which is big, and it's Joanna Gaines like Magnolia one. So I'm like, okay, that was like probably a $2,000 rug. Anyway, I got all the rugs, all of that. So I was really happy about it. So there's times that you can negotiate. So okay, what is my client? Like one time we were selling a house and the buyer wanted this shelf of mine. And I didn't end up selling it because I bought it. I had just got it in Texas at a like an antique show thing. So I was like, no, that has sentimental value, so I'm not selling that. But what are some things? Some people want swing sets. Some people want the pool table, or I don't know. There's lots of things that you can throw in there. Okay, so who will be living for the buyer's needs? Who's going to be living in the house? Adults, children, pets. So thinking about who's going to be living in the house will help you determine what their needs are for this house, right? If somebody has dogs, they're going to need a fenced yard more than likely, right? And most of the time children too, like they want to have a fenced yard so the kids can go out and play. What are the non-negotiables for their home? So these are very good questions to ask in your buyer consult. I always ask, let's see, if you had to name top 5 non-negotiables, what would they be? So 5 things that they absolutely have to have in a house. And then beyond your top 5, what are something that you really, really want? Do you have a preference for the year the house was built? Do you want a house in move-in condition? Or are you willing to do some work on it? When people visit your home, what do you want it to say about you? Are there any specific features that would make your next house feel like home? And will you require, I can't see that. I don't know. So creating this wish list for them so that you can help fulfill that wish list for them. So you can help find the right house. Now, some people are funny and they tell you, I do not want a 2-story. I only want a Rambler. And you're like, okay, so you only start sending them Ramblers. And then we go see the Ramblers and they're like, I hate these. So then we start sending them 2-stories and then they find out they love a 2-story. So sometimes like their non-negotiables, they might change. So I usually take that all into consideration and we're going to try to find them something within those needs. But as we go, it's okay for them to shift and pivot and for you to be there with them, through that process. Or some people are like, I have to have white cabinets. But then in the end, they're like, they buy a house with black cabinets, So they change. Sorry, I don't know what this slide means. I gotta pull up the notes. Okay. So okay, hold on. Oh, okay, so kind of backing up, so just saying they're going to give you their list, but it's like it's important for us to revisit that list, right? Because things can happen, either their lives change or their world changes. And what they mean by that is a buyer's needs can change, whether a change in their lives or the world around them. You might need to revisit the needs of their analysis. So whatever you do at the first visit, and then as we're looking at houses, sometimes they start revising things and they realize, okay, maybe we don't need this, or maybe we could work with this. It's also common for buyers to get frustrated in a tight market and start looking outside of their criteria. So remember that, like, they'll have these standards, but like a couple years ago when there was very little inventory, people were taking what they could get. It's like a lot of the things that they wanted in the house then became, okay, I know I'm not going to get that. So setting those expectations, or a client who's like, my budget is really tight. I can only buy a house for $350,000 and I've got to have my mortgage for $1,900. Okay, that's going to be impossible today in this market because the interest rates are not, unless you have a huge down payment that can get your, principal balance low enough to have a payment for $1,900, it's, it's not going to happen. Just simply, you can't, the math doesn't math, right? So setting that expectation, look, for that to happen, for you to be able to have a payment at this, you're going to have to bring in $50,000, right? Can you do that? Do you have $50,000? And they're like, no, then okay. So then your payment might have to, like, you're going to have to, like, somebody I know recently, they said they looked on Google and they said, on Google, it said that your mortgage payment should be less than 30% of your net income. Well, that's impossible to hit right now with the way the rates are. That's not true for qualifications, right? A qualification, you have to talk to a lender and find out like what those ratios are. What do they have to hit? But somewhere it's usually around like 40%, right? Something like 40 to 45%. So I think there's some loan programs that you could even squeeze a little bit more out of. But, and there's two ratios too. There's like a front end and a back end ratio, and they have to like meet both of those. So you find out with the lender what those ratios are. Well, anyway, this person is like dead set, like hard lining on that 30% of their net income. And that's where they're coming up with this payment less than $2,000. Well, sorry, like it just doesn't math. So either you have to hold off and not buy, or you have to make some concessions and say, oh, it's going to be tough and I'm going to have to probably pay $200 or $300 more on my mortgage until rates come down and I can refinance. But also don't set the expectation that rates are going to come down. So they could come down. We don't know. You could be locked into this rate for the next couple of years. Are you going to be okay paying that for the next couple of years, right? So anyway, things change for them. So being willing to pivot. Having those tough conversations. That conversation is a tough conversation to have. And it sucks because, in that situation, it's like me doing the right thing and telling them, look, you're not going to get this. Or having the lender tell them, look, this is a more realistic budget for you. That means they might not buy right now. But actually, if you do the right thing and say, hey, this is setting the right expectation, down the road when they're ready, they'll come back. But if you don't set that right expectation at the beginning, then they're going to find somebody else to work with, right? Show homes based off their needs. We try to show the best homes for the property. We have the MLS listing with pricing information key. So something that I like to do, I don't do it all the time, but something that I do like to do is print off the listings when I'm going out showing homes so that we can easily like refer to it. And I can even hand them a copy so they can look at everything that's included. Sometimes like it's something that happens last minute and I can't. So then I'll just make sure that I have my app open and that I do tell them, hey, I'm not on my phone, like for funsies, like I have the MLS app out. So if we have questions, when I'm digging into my phone, it's because I'm looking up information for you, not because I'm like not engaged, right? Because people want you to be present when you're there. So I really try not to pull my phone out at all when I'm with clients, unless I know there's like something coming that I have to like check. And I might tell them, hey, someone like, I'm expecting a text. So just know, like, if that comes up, just give me 2 secs, like just letting them know, like, because they're there and they're the most important thing to you in that moment, right? And helping them feel that they're the most important person to you right there in that moment. You can show them a map, answer any location questions around the area. A lot of times when we're showing houses, they want to know where the schools are, where the parks are, where, we were out in Eagle Mountain the other day and they're like, where's the nearest grocery store? And we were out in City Center and I was like, well, actually, good news, there's a new Macy's and it's just right around this roundabout, like right there, kitty corner. And they're like, oh, okay, so there's shopping right there, So that was the important question for them. How far am I going to have to drive to go to Costco? That's important. Being knowledgeable about the property and the neighborhoods that you're going. So if you are unfamiliar, okay, we can sell real estate anywhere. And I have done crazy things, like I have gone clear up to listed a house clear up in Cache Valley. And then I had another listing clear down in like Richfield area. That was bonkers. Bonkers. I don't want to show real estate up in Cache Valley, and I don't want to show real estate in down Richfield if I don't have to. It's like really better to just like pass it off to somebody who is familiar with that local area. And you should pick here. Okay, for me, my areas that I do the most business in are Eagle Mountain, Saratoga, Lehigh, like that North Utah County. I'll go up into Salt Lake County. Like, these are where I get the most business because I'm familiar with those areas. I know I used to live in Riverton. My husband's from South Jordan. So it's fine for me to say, yeah, I know these areas, like, and I do enough business in those areas that I do know where the schools and the parks and things are. But if I don't know, then you've got to do some research, or the best thing for a client might be to refer them to somebody who does specialize in that area, right? So you have to kind of make that decision, like, am I the best realtor for this job? Yes, I need the business, but am I the real best person for this job? And if you're not, hire, call somebody and then get a referral fee from it. Include recent comparable sales to answer pricing questions. So that's usually what I do when we get to the point where they're like, I really like this house. And I say, okay, let's pull the comps on it and let's make sure it's a good deal. Point out potential issues or concerns. So as you're going through the house, I'm really looking out and like looking for water damage, looking at the mechanical systems. Are they new or old? Are they gonna have, like, what's gonna have to be repaired? Obviously, I'm not a home inspector or a builder, but I know enough about homes now that I can see, oh, that's gonna be an expensive repair. Are the sellers willing to repair that? Or is that gonna be something that you're gonna have to do? And are you willing to do that? Like a roof. Okay, sometimes I'll like stand back from the road and we'll look at the roof just to see if we can see any damaged shingles and stuff, Clear, obviously, the inspector is going to go and really inspect it, but sometimes we can just see from the naked eye, oh, that's a bad roof. And, ask for that to be fixed or something. Pointing out, just anything that comes up in a house that might be a concern is important. Okay, they're saying showing homes means agent error, obviously, right? Obviously, like this is a no-brainer. When we're with our clients, we should be interacting with them, talking with them. Oftentimes, when I'm showing houses, that is when I am building rapport. That's when I'm getting to know them. I'm asking them questions. I'm just being like that friend who's just interested in them. I'm so curious about them and their lives. And they'll start, the more I'm asking them questions, the more they start talking. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I understand them. Now, maybe the first visit going out and showing homes might not be the one that we're going to find a house. But now that I've asked them questions and I know more about them, because sometimes in that first buyer consultation, you get answers, but you might not know everything. But when we're out with them for 2 hours, like interacting and getting to know them is important. Another good thing to have is like a little toolkit or like, so sanitizing wipes, any kind of paperwork that you might have. You don't need a physical map, but you're following a little first aid kit if you need. A flashlight is so good.
The first aid kit?
You know what? I don't think I have, but I have one in my car. So, I just have one in my car no matter what, just because, a flashlight though, flashlights are good to have on hand, and a black light. That sounds crazy, but pets. I actually learned that from Susie in the office. She carries a black light with her, and she'll like look everywhere to see like cats, if they've peed. Like you're not going to see it, and maybe they've cleaned it up, but there could be. So anyway, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. A level, a tape measure. I have used a tape measure often. Probably on this list, the things I've used the most are tape measures, flashlights, hand sanitizer. That's a funny one. Recently, we were in St. George. I do go to St. George to sell houses just because I'm from South down there, and my mom lives there. So for me, it's like a reason to go visit mom. And oh, you did? Awesome. So you know the area then. So it's not crazy to go down and sell real estate every once in a while down there. But this cute couple I was helping, they had their two little girls with them, and I did nothing, and I did not have things for little kids to play with. And usually I like to have some kind of treats or like Play-Doh or I don't know, something to like keep them busy, The only thing I had in my purse, do I have it or did I take it out? Oh, I think I took it out. I had some Trader Joe's hand sanitizer. So I like pulled it out and I like sprayed their hands, I sprayed their hands probably 100 times, like as we're going. And it was because the little one, she just kept coming back and I didn't care. I'm like, $3 for a bottle of this, worth it. Kept them occupied. I have pens in my purse. So then I was like, because we were sitting down with the builder and they were like talking to them and stuff. So I was like, grab some paper and I had some pens. So I'm like, here, draw. Anyway, so having little things like that on hand, like parents love you if you think about kids. I don't really carry business cards anymore, but I do have like an app on my phone where I can share it, or you can share your contact with, just going, talking about
Yeah.
this. But if they don't do that, there's the what's the app that I have? It's this one. So I got it when we started using it when we go to Keller Williams Family Reunion. So everybody asked for business cards there. And it is a great way to, Blink, BLINQ. It has this double B. So that one's good to have. So I just have like all my contact, and then I have my QR code, and so they can just scan that and like, get the info. So I have that. It's not a bad idea to have umbrellas, hand wipes. Something that I'm gonna do this season, I haven't grabbed it yet, but I'm gonna do I want to grab a cooler that I can plug into my car somehow. I got to figure that out. That will stay cool, and then put like Diet Coke and water in there, and just be able to oh, who wants Diet Coke? Because we're out 2 hours and we get tired. But yeah, this entertainment for kids. Tissue, toilet paper. I've been in situations where there's no bathrooms, or there is a bathroom, but there's no toilet paper. And so having that on hand and your car is nice. Anyway, you don't have to be crazy, but it's nice. Safety first. Okay, so there's cameras. They put this up here for a reason. Very important to remind your clients as you're going to look at homes that more than likely the sellers will have their cameras. And so be careful about what they say about the homes, any negotiating, anything. You may be watched and recorded. So yeah, so our job is to sell the homes. Job is not to show homes, even though we do both. So the whole idea of going out is being able to like find the things that are good about it, point out the things that are not good about it, help them with the purchase price, everything that they need. Okay. Reasons why buyers hesitate. They're afraid to commit, which is I've seen. They don't like minor details of the home. Okay. So how can we help them overcome those minor details? If it like there's a home that they absolutely love, they feel they haven't seen enough homes. That same couple in St. George, like they knew they wanted new construction. And we went out one day and we looked at like, I don't know, 5 builders. And we saw a few homes. And at the end of the day, they decided on one. I mean, really, we went out one day and they picked a house. Some people that would not be enough for. Like I'm like, do you guys feel good? Like, do you want to see more homes? And they're like, no, we like this one. This is the one we want. I'm like, okay, let's go for it. It happens every once in a while. Well, people walk in the first home they see and it's like, I'm sold. And then it feels weird, but you know, they're sold. But I do ask, hey, do you want to see additional ones just to make sure and to see what they're at? Do they need to sleep on it or get an opinion? Sometimes people need to do that. And so I usually just follow up and I try to help them overcome their objections, but I'm not going to push to make them feel pressured into buying anything. I had a client once, she lost her husband, and this actually was an internet lead. She lost her husband and she's older, like I think 70s, and she was very unhappy in her house because her husband died in the home. And he like had a heart attack in their bathroom or something. And she was so depressed and so sad and she wanted to move. Well, she wanted to move, but there were still some things holding her back. She was afraid of what the kids would think. She was afraid about, a lot of things. I didn't push. I think we even went under contract 1 or 2 times on something, and then she backed out because she just wasn't. There was something holding her back. I didn't know what it was that time, but I just kept following up with her, and I met her in like November. Guys, she didn't close until September of the following year. And my husband kept telling me, she's never gonna buy. Just drop her. And I was like, no. Like, I know she wants to buy. Something is holding her back. And I just kept following up every once in a while. And she would send me listings that she would get on my listing alerts. And she's like, this is cute. And I'd say, let's go see it. I wasn't under the expectation that she was going to buy even, but it was just an opportunity for me to get face to face with her while she worked out whatever she needed to work out. And finally, it got to the point where she felt like, okay, I can move. I'm going to have the conversation with my kids, and whether they like it or not, I'm going to do it because she needed to do it for her own happiness, right? But it took her 8 months to do it, longer, 10 months to do it. And I knew if I push, that wasn't going to be the answer. So it was just kind of having patience and just, again, continuing to follow up, continue to check in until it's right for them. When it's right for somebody, it'll be right. Always go back to their motivation. So again, with her, I knew she was unhappy. Her husband died. She was sad. So I'm not going to bring that up to her though. Right? But I knew that. And I would let her talk about it. I was almost like her therapist sometimes. Go back to their needs and wants. What is it that they want in a house? Advise them to, you are their fiduciary. You're their advocate. You're their consultant. Be that for them. Help allay any of their fears that they might have. Solve their challenges. Calculate the cost of waiting. Okay, so these buyers who are like, they're on a tight budget. It's like, okay, so interest rates we've been seeing them come down a little bit, right? Probably I think the Fed said they're going to cut one more time. So possibly they're going to be a little bit lower in the fall. If interest rates, in my opinion, if interest rates come below 6% where you don't have to buy it down, but it's actually like, that's what it is, under 6, and then they can buy it down even more and probably get into like low 5s or high 4s, the market's going to go bonkers. And it is coming. I feel it. It is like, I don't know if it's this year or next year, or at the end of the year, but it is coming. So when that happens, what will happen to prices? Yep. So if you can barely afford 350 now, prices may go up. Plus, remember this too, Utah's average appreciation is like 3 to 5% year over year over year. Even in these last couple of years when it's been crap, we're still appreciating. So think of it that way. Okay, like $300,000 house at 5% interest, what is that? 15,000. So today it's worth 300. Next summer it'll be worth 315. The next year, 3% on top of that, 3% on top of that, 3% on top of that. Like the longer you wait, the prices are going up. That is not the case in every market, but it is the case in Utah because we have a shortage of inventory. And we have droves of people either being born and coming of age and need to buy a house, or they're migrating to Utah. So being on top of the market and going to those market reports where they talk about that kind of stuff helps. And having those, if you don't know about the Gardner Institute, Policy Institute, they're at the University of Utah. You can look them up online, and they have market reports. They actually report to the governor, and they give the governor the market reports. Like, this is the state of the Utah economy. And they do it semi-annually. So they'll do one in January, and then they'll do another one in July. So reading those, going to that, one of the guys, I think the board, Salt Lake Board of Realtors, maybe even the Utah County Board will have in those economists from the state come and speak and tell us about it. And then Johnny and Becca, so Johnny does a report quarterly, I believe. And I think Becca's doing it with him this time. And Johnny's like really good at the market and stuff. And so he'll do that quarterly. So keeping those slides, using that as part of your presentation is great. Anything that we've talked about so far in AHA? So we're going to talk about sellers. We're going to breeze through it. Sellers, what do they want? They want to make sure that their house is priced competitively. They want to make sure that the home sells in a specific time frame, and they want to know what they need to do to fix their house up to sell it. So remember, a house sells for 3 reasons: price, condition, location. Price, condition, memorize that. I say it all the time to my clients. Price sells for 3 reasons: price, condition, location. Now, location, we can't really do much about location because it is what it is. We can't pick a house up and move it. I mean, we could, but it'd be really expensive. So 2 things, price and condition, right? My goal when I go to their listing appointment and to go through the consultation of what we need to do to help the condition of the home get to the place where we can ask the most amount of money. That's my goal, because I want them to be able to sell their home for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. So how do we do that? What are the strategies to do that? Making sure before we hit the market that the house is in the best condition that we can possibly get it. That's goal number 1. Pricing it strategically, goal number 2. And then making sure that our marketing too, I guess you could add a 4th one, marketing. How do the pictures look? Are we doing video? Are we doing floor plans? Are we like, what are all the things that we're doing to help get the exposure out there? Pictures, having professional photos, that is the first, what is it? A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So it's like, if it looks good there, then that will draw them in, as long as the price is good. And then when they get to the house and they walk through the house, and if the house condition does not look like the pictures, then you have a problem, because people don't like that either. Buyers don't like to be, what is that word in dating? Catfished. They don't want to be catfished. But I also think about this too. When we're listing a house, think of it as we're getting it in the, like, we're going on that first date, or we're going on that first job interview, right? What are you going to do to prepare yourself to go on your job interview or to that date? We got to do the same thing to this house, because we're dating, I don't know how else to say that, but that's what we're doing. Okay, so price, what's the price that what's their time frame? And we need to ask that question: how quickly do you need to sell this house? That matters in how we're going to price it. It matters in, Okay, and what if they refuse to do anything for the condition? And then what happens? Then we have to drop the price, right? Because price has to match the condition. Things can change in their lives though too. Like I had one seller tell me, we got to be out by May. Well, they don't actually have to be out by May. And so when it came to contract time, we worked through that, you know, but, okay. So things that we can control, price and condition. Those are literally the only things we can control. So that's sensitive though, especially condition to talk to them about. We want to make sure that we're communicating effectively. We're setting and managing our expectations. We're creating peace of mind. How are we going to create that peace of mind? What are we going to do to help them through that process? This is hard. It's so stressful for sellers to sell a house. Like it's one of the most stressful things besides building a house. Building a house is a whole nother level but what can we do? What is our value proposition to help them get that peace of mind that everything's going to work out and we're going to be able to sell their house? We also need to remind our sellers of equal housing opportunity. We cannot be violating the fair housing. So what is fair housing? Make sure they understand what that means. Discontinue representation of the client if they are unwilling. Report the incident to your broker immediately. Fully document the situation and consult an attorney if uncertain. So I had a client once, and this was a friend and neighbor. We listed their house. They had cameras all over. And every person that would come in, they'd listen to the conversations, and then they would look them up on like Facebook and stuff. And we had one guy who, we had 3 offers on the table, and they were like researching all 3 of them. And I was like, guys, you can't do that. Like we can look at the money. We can say, are you qualified? Do you have a pre-approval? Can you buy the house? Are you financially able to buy this house? Beyond that, we cannot make the decision on whether it's a single man, person of color, LGBTQ. We can't. One of the offers, which was the best offer, was a single guy, and they went online and they're like, he looks like he drinks and parties. We don't want him in our house. I was like, first of all, we can't do this. Like, this is not okay, you know? And they're like, plus we want a family. I'm like, well, how do you know that doesn't have kids? Maybe he's a single dad. Maybe he has kids. He needs a home for his family. And also, you cannot make that decision based off of familial status, right? So in the end, they didn't end up selling your house, which actually was like a relief because we had multiple offers, but then they decided they don't want to sell. And so they just didn't accept any offers, and then we took it off the market. And actually was a relief for me.
What did they say when you told them that they can't be doing it?
I'm like, you guys, it's like against the law. And they just kept pushing. And I was just like, I just didn't feel good about it either. So I was like, you know what? You decided you don't want to sell. Let's just not sell the house, you know? So actually worked out in that case. But I had to tell them, like, you guys, this isn't like, they said, this is our house. We don't want somebody who's partying in our house. Like, we've created this like special spirit in our house. And I'm like, that's wonderful. You can take that special spirit and move it to your new house. But like, you cannot worry about what somebody's going to do in your house after you move. It's no longer your house. And this is a financial decision. This isn't, you know. So it comes up, and you really have to be aware of that. No commission is worth your reputation, 100% of this. So that's one thing I love about KW is we have all of these like principles and values that we stand for, and win-win or no deal. Integrity, do the right thing. Customers, they always come first. Commitment in all things. Communication, seek first to understand. Creativity, ideas before results. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more, right? Trust starts with honesty. Equity, opportunities for all. Success, it results through all of us working together. And so if you are doing the best you can possibly do, you're being an honest, ethical person, like Abundance will come to you because you are doing the right thing, right? So on our marketing of our listings, we have a 14-step marketing plan. So the message that you put out to attract prospective buyers and sellers is everything. Why would they want to contact you in this market? What would they get if they did? These two questions are at the heart of effective messaging. So I'm going to point that out as part of your brand. Who are you? The buyers are not, and the sellers are not hiring you. They might be hiring you because you're at Keller Williams, but ultimately they're hiring you. What is your brand? Who are you? What do you stand for? Who do you want to be as a realtor? Everything that you put out is a reflection of you. So your Instagram, your marketing, your emails, everything is you. The vendors that you recommend, they're you. Recently on one of the Facebook groups, one of the agent Facebook groups, an agent posted on there that she was all upset because a friend messaged her, DM'd her, and said, hey, I noticed on your pictures that the toilet lids were up. Maybe you should close those next time. And she got butthurt about it because whatever. And she's like, I couldn't even be there for the photography appointment. So I had no control over it. And that's their job. And I was like, actually, that's your job. If you're having a photographer come do photos, I personally believe you should be there. And you should be there 30 minutes early so you can walk through the house and make sure it's in the proper condition that you've already set the expectation for your clients. But if you see cords that are exposed, hey, rip them out, hide them behind. If you see things on the counter, take them, hide them. I am working while the photographer is, I am sweaty by the time we're done with the photography appointment because I'm going in every room and I'm like doing checking the beds, making sure that the bedding is lined up, because if you look on photos and the bedding is lined or the sheet is pulled out, it looks bad. Making sure the toilet lids and things are done. I do have a photographer that I absolutely love, and he actually does go through the house and he'll like make sure before he starts shooting that things are, but not all photographers are going to do that. And that's not their job. Their job is to come in and take the photo. Your job is to make sure that the house is ready, and who you hire is a reflection of you. So, be there, put the lids down, walk. Anyway, okay. So the MLS listing reflects your brand. So get it right, have the right documents, utilize the right professionals, set the right schedule. When you're doing contracts, it's very important for you to be detail oriented. It is very important for you to read through it, double check it, triple check it, make sure spellings are correct, make sure, it's important. That is you. If you send a sloppy contract that's halfway filled out, what do you think the other agent on the other side thinks? They've lost credibility already. They're like, who is this agent? Have they done real estate? They don't seem like they care, right? Putting forth like that extra effort, going above and beyond in everything you do is important because that is your brand, if you want it to be your brand. Okay. Import the listing directly from the KWLS. So you do on your command, you can create listing websites where people can go straight to that, and then you can, when you market it, you can put out that link, and then any leads that come in or people who look at it will actually, it'll grab their information and you can follow up with them. So I recommend, instead of using the utahrealestate.com links, use your command link to the property link in any type of marketing that you do. So what I'll do is, you can create like marketing within command, but I use Canva a lot. And so I'll do like a QR code and I'll just put the property address or property link that goes directly to that. Some people get bugged about that because when they're searching and looking at the pictures, it'll prompt and it'll want to capture their information for them to like look at more. But really, truly, it is to your best interest that you do that so that you can follow up. It's a lead. If somebody's clicking on it, why are they clicking on it? Are they in the market to buy? Do they have an agent? Okay, having the proper signage. So we have to have signs on the market within, or we have to put a sign in the yard. You have to have it on the MLS within 1 day of signing, unless you have an addendum written that says that you're not going to start marketing it for a little bit. So usually if I know we're signing the paperwork at the listing appointment and I know we're not going to have it on the market for a month, then I'll write that in an addendum that to activate on the MLS by X date. Or you can do it another way. You can put it into active no-show status. So there's different status. There's active, under contract, active, time clause, active no-show, and then sold, right? So you put it into active no-show, and that is essentially off market. Nobody can see it anywhere, and it doesn't count the days. So you can put it into that, and then when you're ready to move it over to like go live, then you can move it into active status. Or like I said, you have an addendum written and you just say, we're not going to put it on the MLS until X date. And so that's what I usually do. We've talked a little bit about working with co-agents, right? Like, especially with the contracts and things. Remember that the agent on the other side of the deal is not your enemy. You're going to be working with them probably more than once in your lifetime of your business. So it's important to start fostering those relationships with agents who are on the other side. You're going to go so much further in your business if you do. I know that especially in the times where there's multiple offers and like every offer is the same, then they say, well, have you worked with any of these people? And that they say, well, actually, yes, I worked with so-and-so and so-and-so. And out of the agents, like this one's a lot better to work with. I would choose that one. And then, I mean, I'm just giving they asked, I'm going to provide that info. You know, a lot of times they do. Do you know this agent? Have you worked with this agent before? Yeah, I have actually. And they're a really good agent. They go above and beyond. They sell a lot of real estate. But, you know, so it's important, like, just remember that it's not only your brand publicly with your clients, but it's your brand with the people you're working with. And this is a very small industry. Yes, we have a lot of agents in this. We have a lot of agents in the state. I think like 20,000, 10,000 in the along the state, 10,000 in the Salt Lake Board of Realtors, like 6 maybe in the Utah County. Out of those agents, it's like the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of them sell a lot. And you run into them a lot. So there's oftentimes I've worked with people who I don't know anything, but anyway, just remember that it is a win-win. We're a team here. Yes, you're advocating for your client, but we're a team. We want to everybody has the same interest in, you know, we all want to take it to the finish line, right? But how do we interact with that person? What are we doing to create those relationships? Any ahas? What do we learn? I think we're done.
So there's a lot that you can do with
I know.
that little bit.
And I was speaking a mile a minute.
There's people here that'll like help us through it.
Yes.
Like our best contact, Cameron.
Probably Cameron, I think, because he's like your productivity coach, right? Yeah. So he can help you like access the systems, access the information that you need. You can also reach out to me. You're going to reach out to any of us. We're all like willing to help. That is the one thing that I love about Keller Williams also is like we feel like we're a team here, and you know, all of us are willing to share and help you in any way we can. So, but yeah, like what questions did you have from that? Like anything off that you're like, or if something comes up, you're like, I don't know how to do this. So Cameron can help you with learning about command. So he can get you there is a YouTube thing, and I can't remember, it's like 36 or 72 or I can't remember, but there's that. Your buyer guides and seller guides, I think there's some in the command that you can like temporarily use until you start like wanting to customize and make it fit you. There's also other like outside resources where you can go for a lot of that information. There's this one called like Elevated Agent, I think. They sell a lot of like marketing type materials on there where you can, they're Canva, and then you buy it and you just go in and customize it to you, right? Contracts, there's a class at the Board of Realtors where you can go learn about all of the forms. And I recommend that as a new agent that you do that, because then you're familiar with like the tools that you have, you know, in your tool bag. I think there's like somewhere like 80 forms. So it's really, I mean, yeah, we use like the same probably 10-ish all the time, but sometimes it's like the other day, my husband, on this commercial deal, he's like, hey, one of the people he's doing like a co-agent thing, and the co-agent is related to the buyer. And so he's like, even though he's not like the main agent, do we need to share that the buyer is related? And I was like, yeah, we do. And I'm like, and it's that, I'm like, which form is it? And so we're both like, we knew which form it was, and both, we don't use it very often because, you know, I sell real estate with friends and family, but not all the time. So I was like, what's the name of it? We both were like losing it anyway. And so, but we're knowing, oh, there's a form for that, or there's a form for this, or there's a form for that. Like, I didn't realize there was a resolution to due diligence form for a long time when I got into real estate. And that's like one of the best forms that you can use when you get to due diligence in the contract. You have the home inspection, you find out what repairs that need to be done, or if they're not going to do repairs and they want to do like a closing cost incentive or something like that, it's all on that form, like literally. And you can say, like, there's 3 options: repairs, closing costs, credit, or nothing, you know. And then we fill that out. Anyway, that was a good one that I didn't even know about until I went to that forms class. So that one's a good one to go to. Are you guys doing the Lee Stern listing? Have you been going to her classes?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Keep going. And even if you miss one, go. Like, pick up. She's doing a 4 class, yeah, every Monday at 10, 9, something like that. There's a sign when you come in and it has her picture. She is amazing. That is like one of the main reasons why I came over to Keller Williams, because I was at another brokerage before, is I went to one of her classes and I was like, I need everything that she's saying. And she'll help you like hone in on your listing presentation, everything. She's really amazing. Ignite is going to be, yep, keep going through it. You may have to go through Ignite a couple times, just because, like, remember, like, you're in the learning phase, right? And it's okay. Like, there's a season for making the big bucks, right? If you lay the foundations now, it'll come. Just be patient and just keep being consistent at working at it. Yesterday, someone asked me, like, what can I do to, like, if she's like really busy in her life and she can't do a ton. I was like, 1, learn how to read the market. Learn how the MLS has tools. Learn those. They have a class. I think you can just even do it like online, or it's like I don't know, but MLS has some classes to teach you about how to use the MLS. Take those. How to look at the statistics, how to read them, how to read the reports. Being able to relay that information builds so much credibility. Also helps you in your pricing strategies, everything. That, and then learning conversation frameworks. So there's a book called I'm blanking. We have the PDF. I think it's even in the documents, oh my gosh. Where's my books? Exactly what to say. It's so good with conversation frameworks. Exactly What to Say. The author is Phil Jones, and he actually comes to like family reunion and speaks. He might even be a Keller Williams agent. I don't know. But he's like a trainer, and he has one that's specifically for real estate, but then he has one that's not. And I have both. I actually prefer the regular one, and I have used it. It's funny. Like one time last year, someone just randomly Facebook messaged me. They're like, "Hey, we would like you to come look at our house, and we'd like you to maybe list it." And I was like, "Okay." And I went to that book, and because I was like, how am I going to word this? And I went to that book and I found the section where it was like, I don't know, said something. And I was like, oh, okay. And I literally copied and pasted from the PDF, and I like put it in and I like customized it a little bit. And then I sent that. And then the next day she's like, okay, how about let's do Thursday at 5? And I was like, okay. But like, I didn't feel like I had the tool, even me, I've been in real estate since I got licensed in 2012, started working. I left teaching in 2016, and that's when I like really started doing it full time. And so like, I've been in a long time, and still I'm still looking for ways to help with conversations and market. Like it's the continual thing that I'm working on. And then creating that brand, like who do I want to be? Who am I? How do I want to present myself? Making sure like brand is more than just colors and logos and fonts. It's your personality. It's how you present yourself in everything. So thinking about all of that really will help. I don't know. What are some things that were like, any other things? No? Okay. Well, I'm excited for you guys. How long have you been licensed now? Like a month?
No, a couple of weeks.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
Were you at my last one?
Maybe.
I don't know what I was teaching, but I feel like you were here.
Oh.
So I remember you said, yeah, Cedar. Were you a teacher? No, there was somebody else who was a teacher. No. So, no. This is your first career for doing it. You can do it. And you know what? So I started getting licensed when I was 23. And then I had a baby. That was back when you had to go to live classes. There's nothing online. I'm old. That daughter is 23 now. So I went to all these classes. She was a newborn. And at that time I was like, oh, it's too hard. I'm not gonna do this. I really wish I would have pushed through. I'm grateful for the journey that I went on and where I finally, did a full circle and came back to it. But I look at people like you guys who are starting younger, and I'm like, you guys have no idea, maybe you do, what potential there is in real estate. Like it is the best thing that has ever happened to my life and my husband's life. Just getting into it.
I wish I had started sooner, but
You're still young.
7.
Oh, you're young. I'm 46. So yes, you're young. And yeah, just keep at it, keep going. If you have questions, reach out to one of us. Amanda's a good resource at the front desk too. Cameron is your guy. I don't know who else. Anyway, thanks guys.
All right, cool. Thank you.